One of the hardest parts of fatherhood is teaching your son how to build a fire. I don't know how mothers teach daughters, but here is a transcript of father to son fire-making instructions. Okay, first see what I'm doing? Like this. No, like, look, see, and then now imagine it's like, okay, let's start again. First, you gotta think like a fire. No, not like, look, you see what I'm doing? See what I'm doing? Okay, then no, not like that, like this, see? And then it's, wait, you gotta slow down. No, wait, then and there, we got it, you see? That's the kind of instruction I received as a child from my dad. And when I finally learned to build a fire at the age of 25, having been shown 100 times, I was given the clearest, simplest instructions on how to do it. I was living in a trailer in Virginia in the forest with a construction crew, and there was a little wood stove in the trailer, and before the guys left me there alone for a week, the foreman said, "Look, kid, either you're gonna live or you're gonna die." And that explained everything. Like, why hadn't somebody said that before? And that night, as the temperature dropped, I went to the furnace and I built my first fire. And it worked. Then the next morning, alone in a zillion miles of forest, I learned how to chop wood. The secret is, don't sink the axe into your shin. I had been shown this, but finally it became clear to me. Actually, I'm kidding. The real secret is levitation. Like, your feet need to float off the ground for this fleeting moment, and the axe blade falls toward the molten core of the planet Earth, dividing all of material existence into two sides. The blade stops on a tree stump, and whatever's been standing on top of the stump will just jump in half. All right, that's hard to explain. I have not taught my son how to chop wood yet. Maybe the secret, I think, is that you gotta learn it from someone else's dad, because your own father will never put that axe in your hand. A campfire. Elizabeth calls it jungle TV, and I gotta say, it's my favorite show. It's mesmerizing. Every summer I take the kids camping where Wi-Fi and Netflix and news updates can't find us. And fire is the star of the show. We can just stare at it. The shimmer of wood as it turns to glowing coals. You watch sparks travel up into the night sky and disappear. Listen to its crackling like a worn vinyl record. Actually, we don't hear the crackling because I play loud live recordings of classic rock bands, and man, Wheel in the Sky sure does seem profound by firelight. You realize you've been hypnotized for an hour. You lean back and you feel that cold blue starlight on your cheeks. The same constellations your ancestors stared at 100,000 years ago. But the stars are so far away, and soon your eyes are drawn back into the belly of this little blaze. When we get home, all of the laundry has that campfire smell. And I take a long inhale from some t-shirt before I drop it in the wash. Like that scent contains the last gasp of that campfire feeling. And then there's the campfire story tradition. My dad's an Episcopal priest, and growing up, I heard him give 1,000 sermons. And I was an acolyte, which meant I got to light the candles before the church service. And I'm embarrassed to say I cannot remember a single one of his sermons. But once he came along on a Cub Scout campout and told this story by a fire. It was a horror story about a guy who'd been horribly disfigured in a burning frat house, and how he tracked down the fraternity brothers one by one, taking his revenge. And it ended with this big jump scare, and all of these Cub Scouts leapt 10 feet in the air. And I thought, man, why don't you do that on a Sunday morning? But now I know it would have been completely out of place. That story belonged at a fire circle. It's a whole different ritual. Fire is like this pet that we've tried to adopt. It's hungry, we feed it, we keep it alive or it dies. Long before humanity began attempting to domesticate plants and animals, our ancestors tried to claim and tame this otherworldly force, this element, neither earth or water or sky or plant or animal. It is completely something else. It's an organism that doesn't have a body. It's a spirit in the material world. It's a hungry ghost. I read somewhere that of all things in nature, fire is the one with which humanity has the most in common. Unchecked growth, unbridled appetite, and a habit for leaving wastelands in our wake. I find this to be a really pessimistic view of humanity. And I've studied enough so-called primitive cultures to know that our species is not inherently destructive. And yet when I think of human cultures in which the spiritual realm is more highly valued than the natural world, I do see this kind of destruction. Maybe I should say that the quest for otherworldly paradise gives us an easy excuse to create hell on earth. When we talk about humanity's development from fear of fire to use of fire to the ability to make fire, fire was a spirit, destructive and uncontrollable. Then it was a magic wielded by a few. And then it became a science with recognizable origins and patterns. The adoption of fire, the spread of the knowledge about how to domesticate it, spurred the first great leap in the size of the human population. Learning how to cook greatly expanded humanity's dietary possibilities. We became nearly omnivorous. If you don't believe me, take a bite of a raw potato. It's poisonous. Or eat some raw pork or shrimp and you'll be dead. But you cook it a little and you're fine. Not kosher, but at least technically alive. Cooking also, and yeah, this is kind of offensive, but don't hate me for saying it. Cooking also enables us to kickstart the digestion process of our food before we eat it. Like breaking down sugars and softening roughage and tenderizing steak. When they bring your dinner at a restaurant, the chef has already done 2/3 of the work of digesting your dinner in a steel pot. You barely even have to chew it. In his book, Sapiens, Yuval Noah Harari says that after fire started doing the heavy intestinal labor, the human body had more energy to spend on developing this big brain so that we could sit in front of that fire and think about it and talk about it. And our early human ancestors used fire to encourage the growth of prey animals. Controlled burning can clear underbrush and shape pathways through the jungle, giving snakes less places to hide and steering the deer and the elk into easy ambush spots. The indigenous Americans, who did not domesticate animals except for dogs, used fire to shape the forests so that game animals could be dependably found on predictable trails. In the Midwestern plains, fires were used to clear forests and create grasslands where the buffalo would roam. And prehistoric Europeans carried torches into darkened caverns to imprint game animals into the belly of the earth. We have the next picture, please. Yes, please. When I was young, I heard about cave art and imagined Cro-Magnon painters, or Chromantics, trying to lure lovely Neanderthal redheads into their man caves to see some new highbrow masterpiece in a lowbrow world. But the idea of a cavern as an art gallery with track lighting and parasites and slimy, cold-blooded invertebrates, by which I mean critics, that's not the Neolithic underground art scene at all. A lot of these prehistoric etchings are carved in deep caverns where there is no natural light, where you needed a torch to get in and then enough torch to find your way out. But journeying into this cavern, the womb of the earth from which the animals were supposedly born, and retracing these animal shapes in the deep walls. It was necessary to fertilize the land to produce these animals. In this set of beliefs, the hunter is dependent on the animals, and the animals are dependent on the spiritual magic of the people. Some of these cave etchings are remarkable in their realism, and we're very fortunate today that we don't need to crawl through dank rock with torches to see them. They're all online. Well lit, we can see them in the heated comfort of our own home. But if we viewed them by firelight, by torchlight, the natural flash and flicker of flame would give them a supernatural glow and movement. Torchlight would make these images alive, pulsing with anima, spirit, in a way that we can't see on a screen. The dancing shadow of the viewer could even reach in and interact with that spirit creature. These cave etchings are some of the oldest known traces of human religion. And based on commonalities in different regions, we could almost say that in the beginning, there was one human religion, a religion of wonder and abundance, but also a religion of fire. Fire is part of every religion today. Bonfires, torches, oil lamps, candles, the chalice we light at our gathering. The fire is a portal between the material world and the spirit world. You can watch it, a living thing like a tree limb or a hot dog that fell off someone's stick, turn to dust. The sizzling sounds like a spirit escaping. And don't ask what spirits lurk in a hot dog, we just don't know. Something that had mass and weight and liquid is now powder, ash, and some element of it is drifting off into the sky and then vanishes. The Iroquois say that tobacco leaves that are picked just before a thunderstorm, when thrown into a fire, will produce a dancing smoke, a smoke that contains some of that lightning energy. And the Creator wants to see this dance. They also say if you burn a white basket at midwinter time, the smoke will rise up and become a dog spirit to keep the Creator company. The Cherokee of North Carolina say that the fire came to the animals first, before there were any humans on earth. They watched as lightning struck a tree on an island and knew that they wanted some of this flame for themselves. A snake swam across to get some, but the fire burned it. And a bird flew across, but also failed to bring some back. And these became the black snake and the raven. But the spider, an old grandmother, having thought about the problem, wove a bowl of webbing on her back, darted across the water, and returned with this glowing coal. This is how the animals got fire, but it's also how they learned about tools and creative problem solving. And the humans learned this from the animals. In Greek mythology, it's a whole different story. That's the Titan Prometheus who steals fire from the gods and shares the secret with humanity. And the gods are furious because they fear that this will give the humans too much power and make the people less dependent on the gods. So Prometheus was punished. In Greek thought, the secret of fire is the secret of slash and burn farming and the secret of smelting bronze to make weapons. And these make humanity a dangerous threat to the rest of creation. Little did the Greek gods know that we'd eventually use fire to create lightning itself, electricity, giving us the power to determine the length of the day, to control the temperature of our homes, even to see through distant space and time in ways that even the Greek gods could never have imagined. I can turn on a TV and revisit the 1990s. And at the end of a long day of the disappointing 21st century, I spend some time relaxing in the past. Lately, we've been watching the Lethal Weapon film series, and everything bursts into flames eventually. That is the one immutable law of Lethal Weapon. All things will burst into flames. Cars, boats, cops, robbers, buildings, Martin's trailer, Roger's toilet, and by the third film, you just press play and the opening credits catch on fire. You don't even need story anymore, just spontaneous credit combustion. And by the end of the movie, spoiler alert, fire, everything. The end credits roll, and when they're done, one more scene, the guys just drive up to a building and it bursts into flames. And it's not Hollywood magic. The producers actually identified an old hotel in Florida, slated for demolition, and they blew it up. Anyway, we were watching this. And while we were watching this spectacle, our dog was watching us, staring into this cold blue light, mystified. Now, she didn't see a fire. She just saw us staring into this strange cold blue light. But somewhere in the world, a fire was burning to create that electricity. And thinking about it now, maybe I would have been just as happy sitting by a campfire, listening to someone tell the story of Lethal Weapon 3. It's hard teaching your kids to build a fire. They're so excited, but before you teach them to light it, you have to teach them to contain it. And before you teach them how to light it, you have to teach them how to put it out. And you got to teach them that we don't need to be terrified of fire, but we do need to respect it. Fire is a tool, and we use it. It's our favorite toy. We play with it. I tell my kids, don't play with fire. Mainly because I love playing with fire. Like, I just want to do it myself. It's an entity. We try to tame it, but all fire is wildfire. We never fully control it. Sometimes we fight it. Sometimes we lose. I've been hearing horror stories of wildfires lately. And when I do, I wonder, didn't we get this under control 500,000 years ago? No. We will never have fire under control. Fire is more powerful than we are. But when we learn to coexist with it, this otherworldly force, fire can still bring that magic and wonder into human life. Thank you.